Hello and welcome to Bergkamp Wonderland. We are an Arsenal podcast full of people that are on the verge of death. The only living person here is me and Josh. You're right, Josh?
Wow. Knowing what your general list of ailments are like, I'm assuming you just mean nothing's changed in your life.
I did overstretch this morning when I was in bed. Did some of that, and as I've got a poorly neck, it now hurts. But I'm a man. I get on with it. Do you just get on with it when you're not well?
No, I'm probably the worst. I'd say up there with the likes of Kris for when I end up moaning. Said right up there.
Don't mention him. Is your sofa upside down as some kind of protest against sofa or furniture in general?
It's a bed upside down. So yeah, it's not a sofa, but it is a general go at every spare bedroom in the world right now. That's where it's at. As some people who are lucky enough to watch this live on YouTube, or not even live, but on YouTube, will see the array of shit that is in my house that I've not packed yet, ready for a move.
Please don't. Oh, you've said the S word, and we're going to Kris next. Talking of shit, Kris, how's the arse? And I don't mean our club.
I mean, so far, and we are only 2 minutes in, it's all right. But I'm concerned about the next hour or so, potentially more. I'm very concerned.
Much like Mauricio Pochettino, it is squeaky bum time for you for the next 90 minutes.
Yes. Just in case the listeners want to know, I'm not ill.
I don't think they do.
I've been for a run and I just got home and I have the gurgles. So, very bad stomach cramps that are coming in waves. Much like Arsenal's form at the moment, coming in very small and big waves, depending upon which way you look at it.
Apart from that, you're quite happy sitting there in your little hovel in the dark.
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm very concerned about when I actually have to get up to put the light on because I fear that things might go wrong.
Leakage.
It could be leakage. It could be.
Well, I know John has got some adult nappies. I don't think he uses them for the same reason you do, but maybe we could get him to pop some round.
That might be good. Yeah, I'm an adult baby.
Oh dear. Well, enough of you. Right, next one up. It's Cactus Cash, who has a genuine illness. He has a migraine at the moment. That's probably looking at the new Egyptian national kits. Have you seen them? Why don't they call you Cash? It's not Cash. It's Richard.
Mate,
So
most people call me that anyway. So it's all
good. I'll call you everything.
Yeah, it's fine. I've been called a lot worse, Danny.
No, not by me.
No, I haven't. I've been a very bad Egyptian. I haven't spied the kits. Is it Adidas who makes them?
I've got no idea. They just look. One of them looks like the colour of sand for Egypt. That's not surprising, but yeah, they look nice.
Oh, I might have to give them a little look. How are you, Danny?
I'm very good. You're the only one who's asked me because the other two don't care. And give it time, and you won't care either. It's just how things work here. So I'll get rid of that now. So tonight we are going to be talking about. I'm so lazy. Gentlemen and ladies, that I said in our WhatsApp group, topics for tonight, and I've just picked out all the topics that people put. Carl did the best job because Carl is my favourite, and he's also the one doing all the wonderful tweets from the podcast account because Carl also cares. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is we're not going to go to ban, a private chat. There you go. I put them all in there. We'll start off with once I do the first topic, you lot just talk away. I'm only introducing the first one, then I'm sitting back and complaining about life. So, Josh, you put a magnificent comment in our WhatsApp group. It's a shame we can't play a championship side every week. So, the first topic I've got: does beating Sheffield United mean we still aren't shit? This is from Kris. And was that a meaningless result? Is there any point picking the good stuff out of this? And can we take anything from beating a championship side?
I think as somebody who thought on a very similar line, I do tend to be erring on the positive side, but there's no two bones about it. The Sheffield United squad is utterly shit right now. And I think the fact that we got a 3-0 result against them was, well, you could see it from the way that we played the game. Every second ball was landing at an Arsenal foot. There was a lot of luck and the kind of quality showed through. In terms of our attacking play, it was interesting to see the lineup we went with. especially with Xhaka at the back. I don't think that's something that continues in the long run. But I'm sure there are a couple of things that people will pick from it. I think more minutes in the legs for Thomas Partey is great stuff while we can still get it, because he's looked like he's looked like a shadow of the player that he actually is. I think I've mused, have we dragged Partey down to our level? Because
always the question, isn't it?
Exactly.
When we get a decent player, do they drag the rest of the squad up? The rest of the squad drag him down.
Yeah, and I think what we saw with the third goal is that's what Partey's in there to do. And, Lacazette, when he's given a second bite of the cherry, he's going to take it. And I think just generally it was a performance that you could say, yeah, well done to Arsenal. But I don't know, Kris, is there anything more to that than just it's a job done rather than well done?
Can we not talk about jobs being done? That concerns me quite regularly. Yeah, I think Danny read out my message in the group when I said beating Sheffield United doesn't mean we're good again. But in all fairness, let's take the positives, because we like the positives. We were good. We were good against, as you say, let's be honest, a championship side. But we've lost to worse sides. We've put in worse performances. Even in this year's Europa League, we've probably put in worse performances against worse sides. So no, I was kind of impressed. I was sort of doing that thing where I was kind of watching a little bit corner of the eye thing, because let's be honest, the league has gone, and at this stage it is very much like an exercise in getting the games played. But no, some good goals. Nice to see Laka getting a couple, especially the first one. Really, really nice goal, that one. A couple of good performances. Good to see Martinelli back in the side. Xhaka did a very good job, given the fact he was playing out of position. Don't think we'll see him there in every game. I think that was very much kind of if not a one-off, very much a not very regular off, shall we say. But I mean, I don't think Sheffield United had a shot, did they? I think they were that bad. So, we take the positives, we move forward. Good to see Ceballos play well as well, actually, in time for the next game, because we are going to need as many players in form as we can get coming into Thursday's game. So, yeah, I didn't hang the flags out. I didn't book the open top bus parade, but it was nice to see us get a win and actually play some football, which is a bit of a novelty this season, let's be honest.
Sheffield United had 2 shots on target, unbelievably, and I was half expecting. I always think it's a good game if Eddie McGold, what's his name? Something McGoldrick, Chris McGoldrick, David. There you go, third time lucky. If McGoldrick doesn't score against us, because he only scores against us and Chelsea, and he didn't score. So, Richard, do you think it's the fact that Ceballos has been shit most of the time, but whoever plays next to Partey looks amazing? Whether it's Xhaka looks his best again with him, El Neni looks really good with him, and now Ceballos, or do you think it's more to do with the Ceballos, the positions he was allowed to play? Because Ceballos isn't the one to go back, get the ball off the defenders, then come through midfield and give it to the strikers, is it? That's not how he flourishes.
No, I don't think so. I think with Partey, he offers like a bit of protection, a bit of athleticism and mobility to the other his midfield partner, which always makes them look a bit, a lot better than they generally are. I think Ceballos was a lot further up the field than what he normally is, which is a massive plus for him. Because I think sometimes Ceballos, he's got a little bit of the, like the some of the criticisms that used to be levelled at say like Aaron Ramsey, where he tries to do a bit too much. And if you're further up the field, it's not as detrimental kind of thing. Like if you're getting caught in possession, or you give away the ball in the final third, obviously it sounds redundant. It's nowhere near as bad as getting robbed of the ball or messing up right in front of the back floor, and then they're on us. So I think that bit helped him as well. Also, Sheffield United aren't very good at Yeah, it's just like I say, it was a mixture of all things, but it was decent from what I saw of Ceballos. Some nice touches, little flicks. I know there was an early one where he backheeled it off to Lacazette, who played in Martinelli, who again I was really glad that Martinelli got some minutes in his legs as well, which is, like I say, another positive. But yeah, I think, like I say, Partey thing. I think his general presence, even if he doesn't have the best of games himself, I think he brings a physicality and a presence and a mobility that helps out his partner.
Yeah, I think with Ceballos as well, just generally with his performance, it was interesting to see him not play so centrally as well. He was very much acting as that additional protection for Granit Xhaka. And I think when you do have a player that is so drastically played out of position in that way, I think, Kris, you remember this, and Rich as well from your coaching, that as a player, if you're asked to play an unfamiliar position, you tend to concentrate more, and your teammates tend to help you out a little bit more because they know that you're just there to help the rest of the team. It looked like Ceballos was there to kind of shield Xhaka, help him out a bit more, as well as Martinelli being over on that side as well. That I think that's why we saw a good performance from Xhaka, because not only wasn't really tested at all defensively, it was the fact that he had that extended level of concentration because he's being asked to do such an unfamiliar role. He's actually got to pay attention. He can't do it all on instinct. He's got to be full of concentration for the full 90 minutes. And I think it was interesting to see Arsenal on their YouTube this week yesterday put out the, they do the, what is it, just like voice cam or voice, you hear the players shouting.
Open mic.
Open mic, that's the one. And it was Granit Xhaka from the Sheffield United game. And you could see, because he was afforded so much protection, he could very much dictate our play a little bit. And you can see why he was the captain of Arsenal. But by no means, I think, from that video, is he the only guy that was talking. But I think, what does everyone else think of Xhaka's general performance as well?
I wanted to mention this, actually, because that's a nice segue. Because I was reading a lot of the comments behind that video today. And isn't it funny how, like a player sort of celebrating and giving it the, yes, come on, and, a little bit of passion with an SH and a UN, changes perceptions, changes people's thought process. There's so many people, like you said, Josh, under there with the comments, clearly clearly Jack is the leader. This proves he should be captain. And I was just sitting there shaking my head, going, he played all right, and he shouted a bit, and he was passionate, and that all those three things should be every week. That's not something that you should reward and say, oh, that's amazing, because it should happen every week. I'm not disputing we bought Granit Xhaka to be a leader of this team. Doesn't mean that he's the best player for that role. So yeah, I mean, and there's a reason why he was given the captaincy. There's also a reason why he lost the captaincy, because he plays on passion and he plays on drive and hunger and determination. The problem is when that goes a bit wonky, he goes missing. So you can't really. You kind of got to give it the credit and also dismissal that it deserves. So yeah, I did find that those videos are always interesting to watch, but I do find it amazing how people's perception of someone changes just because someone shouts a bit. And I do enjoy a good Northern Rob Holding. Great play there, lads. Great play. I did love that. That was
and I think that's the other thing to caveat it with, was he's probably not the only player dictating positions of the other players. There's definitely someone on the other flank. It was probably Callum Chambers, maybe Rob Holding, who's doing exactly the same to Pepe and Martinelli, and maybe even Lacazette when they're drifting over to that side of the pitch. And whilst it is great to see, I think people just need to kind of look at the context generally and saying, yeah, he's vocal, but everybody should be vocal. It's not I think that might be just more of a damning indictment of the rest of our team, that what Xhaka's doing is like the minimum. That is the bottom of what we should be expecting from a player, to be communicating with people around him to ensure they're in the right places. And I think generally from what we saw was a team that did look coherent. I mean, we can continue going about how the opposition helped us and played into that for us, but I think we did look very coherent. And as I said, every second ball seemed to fall to an Arsenal player. Now, whether or not that was by design or by the fault of Sheffield United, I think we could debate that for days. But I think generally it was a very calm, collected performance. And there's only a few things I think people could moan about. I think one of those being Saka and his use in the game. Rich, did you think Saka was, after we've seen him and how important Thursday is, did you think it was right for him to start the game?
It was an odd one, really. There's a bit of me that kind of like, now that he's, and once he took out the knock, instantly you're like, oh God, like he shouldn't have played. But then the other caveat to that is, if he hadn't have played and we didn't get the victory, people have been slating Arteta to play the team that's in front of him. Me kind of personally, I would have liked to have saved him, just because of the injury niggles that he had in the prior to this, in the like with England and stuff like that. I think, I don't know. Again, I haven't really been online or anything today. Like, was it just a like a dead leg or something, and he should be okay? I don't know if anyone else has heard anything, any other reports or anything.
He was in full training today, along with who was the other one? Was it Martinelli there was a doubt over?
Odegaard's a doubt.
Okay, yeah, I saw that.
Martinelli was ankle, wasn't it? It was his ankle. He'd rolled his ankle again.
Yeah, and Smith Rowe is the other one I think I was thinking of, and apparently those two there's that phrase, isn't there? Expected to be fit. So yeah, I imagine we'll see both. I think Saka was more of a precaution than anything, but yeah, a dead leg or something like that.
At what point do you think where people are going to start forgiving Xhaka for his previous things? Because when you stack up all the stuff Arsenal players have done against us, then I don't care. That you're not going to, neither of you forgive him, even though he's put in some really good performances.
I'm not saying I don't forgive him, but let's just put it this way. How many people forgive Thierry Henry for missing that chance in the Champions League final?
And sorry, his you know, has he played well? Yes. You know, has he sort of resurrected a career that was basically dead? Yes. But did he embarrass the club and embarrass the armband and make an absolute joke of the situation? Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, well, I forgive him because, quite frankly, some of our fans are arseholes. As I've seen in the last couple of days, I put up a thing of the whoscored.com. I just put up their form table. You can pick 3 games or 6 games. 6 games I picked, cut it, pasted it, and then said, look, we're 4th. Some Arsenal fans are going to hate that. Oh, I was right. Some absolute fucking morons hated it. It's a shame they're not watching because I could tell them to go fuck themselves. But they really do not want to hear anything good, whether it's Xhaka playing brilliantly at left back, whether Xhaka's having a fantastic game next to Partey in midfield, whether Xhaka doesn't play and then we play terrible and then he comes back in and we play well again. Some people just do not want to, they don't ever want to be happy. That's hard to believe, isn't it?
I would say I don't forgive him, not that I don't forgive him like this, I haven't forgiven him enough to want to put the armband back on him, and I haven't forgiven him enough to want us to upgrade on him. But I don't hate his guts or anything like that, or like I say, I genuinely don't think that he's playing crap, or he's makes these brainless farts on purpose or anything like that. You know, it's not his. It's a classic case of it's not his fault he gets picked. It's not his fault that there's nobody else better than him in that role in the team. So yeah, I would say I wouldn't go far as to want to give him a new contract and make him captain again. But you know, I don't hate him or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at our feed of our show on our own Twitch channel and it's not working. Only works if I mute it. How weird is that? David's put here the best midfield pairing that's gotten us up to 10th. That's kind of a good point.
I think there is the kind of inconsistency between when has Thomas Partey been available as well. I think that's just the short answer to it. And I think there's always going to be, I think, like you say, Arsenal fans are always going to be grumpy, irrespective. I think, let's put it that way. If Saka doesn't get that knock and you're like, don't play him, are those people just as happy because Willian is our only available option and he's going to be the guy that starts for us? I think we all know the short answer to that. So I think, to kind of round it off on Granit Xhaka, I think in terms of redemption story, like I think he has redeemed himself to a point, but again, just because he shouts a lot and he was captain before, I don't think he should be becoming captain at the behest of Aubameyang. I don't think Aubameyang's the right starter either for us, but for me, I think we should be looking to get another figure in to be that captain.
Okay, we'll talk about captains then before we move on to the strikers. But who would you have?
Who would I have?
Is it obviously Tierney? But there again, with Tierney constantly being injured, which it seems to be, he's on his fifth injury since he's been with it. You wash your hands, Kris. Do you have any luck?
I can confirm that was a false alarm.
Oh, there you go. So
the gurgling continues.
I'll keep 365 thread or whatever it was. False alarm.
I'll keep you all posted when movement occurs. I'll be sure to let you all know.
Okay, lovely. And we're just talking about the captain, and Josh was going to say something very incisive about who should be our captain. I like the idea of Tierney, but can we have a captain who's constantly injured?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've had plenty before. It was going to be my quick witty remark to can we have an injured captain? I would not have Kieran Tierney as our captain. That's the kind of short of it. Yeah, he's great in terms of his passion, and he's great in terms of what he can do for us. But I think he is still learning the ropes. He is not one that I think necessarily is from a captain. You want the advice off the field. You want the advice on the field as well. And I'm not sure Tierney fits that for us. I think there are better options potentially within our squad, or just to bring someone else in. And in a couple of seasons' time, Aubameyang might be gone. What, Basuma or Lewis Dunk?
Both. And Welbeck. I see you tweeting about him yesterday. You get over it.
And Welbeck. I'm just sad about Danny Welbeck. He should just score more. That's his only problem in life.
Let's stick to captains before we start talking about other stuff, because we're all over the shop. Richard, your thoughts on captain?
Well, I can't remember who was the last captain that immediately didn't leave us. I think, or formed
Ted
went
Drake.
to shit. The captaincy always feels cursed to me. We gave it to Tommy Vermaelen, who looked amazing, and then the guy couldn't get fit. Same thing happened to Per. Same, like I say. So I think we should give the captaincy to the furthest person from the thing. I think we should give it to Mohamed El Nene. Get the Egyptian pearl over the armband, and good things will happen.
That's unlike you to say that. Kris, can you disagree with that?
I mean, I can never disagree with anything to do with Mohamed El Nene. Who could? But no, I mean, I would be tempted to go Tierney, but I do definitely take Josh's point. You know, that there's the injury concern there. I mean, I know it sounds a bit mean. I know it sounds a bit cruel, but basically, I would have anyone but Aubameyang. I'm sorry, but
I think most of us agree.
I just would, it's nothing against the guy. Like, he's a great personality to have in the dressing room, etc., and so on. But that doesn't necessarily make a good captain. And ask yourself this question: when we, and I know it's a different era, but it's the same principle. When we got hammered, or when we were on a bad run, or when things were going well, what did you hear from Patrick Vieira? Forgetting Tony Adams, but in the sort of semi-modern era, what did you hear from Patrick Vieira?
Not much.
See, I would disagree with that. No, I would disagree with that.
I can't remember.
Yeah, see that's exactly my point. He would come out, he'd speak to the media, he would give interviews, he'd be there to front up after matches. I haven't even heard from. I think the last time I heard anything from Aubameyang that wasn't to do with his his own personal life, which he's completely entitled to tweet or Instagram about. The last time he mentioned Arsenal in that was on Sunday, where he's like, gutted that I can't be with the players. Fair enough. But you don't hear from the guy. And if I was working under him, if think of it like an office job, and he's your boss, doesn't really inspire you, does he? I mean, it goes missing when things aren't going his way, late to bloody training and late to matches. Signed a big contract and disappeared off the face of the earth. I mean, as I say, I'm not saying he's not a good influence in the dressing room. He clearly is, and he's clearly very popular. But that isn't the credentials to have the armband. And certainly not at this club. And I know the game's moved on. You don't have your John Terrys, your Roy Keanes, and your Vieiras these days. I get that. But what you do have is inspirational leaders and players that would fling themselves in front of a free kick in a wall. That type of personality. Or you have a player who leads by example, like a Jack Grealish, for example. He's a flair player, but he inspires Villa, and he drives Villa on by his performances. And Aubameyang does when it suits him. And he's one of those guys that when things are going well, is brilliant. But when things aren't going well, which is arguably, I think, when you need a captain the most, he tends to go a little bit missing for me. So that's where I would be looking at a Tierney and somebody who inspires by his levels on the pitch. I don't think Hector's a captain. I think Laka's a dressing room leader, but I don't think he's a captain. Xhaka, we've been over. He's the closest you get to an on-field captain, but as I said, I wouldn't go back there, once bitten, twice shy. And then you're looking at Leno, not for me. Doesn't inspire confidence for me. I'm struggling beyond that. And you wouldn't want to give it to like a Saka or any of that because it's too much pressure on a kid of that age. So I wouldn't mind us buying a captain, by the way. But that's probably a story for another day.
What about Holding? Would Holding be on the shortlist?
I think he's got to play every week first, for me.
But hasn't every clean sheet you've had this season, Holding has been playing?
Yeah, but
in the Premier League. Yeah.
But that means in Mikel land, that means you get dropped. That's how it works.
Yes.
Sorry,
I didn't realise, because once the game is over, I stop watching because I'm not listening to them bin dipping shitbags going on. So the moment he blows that whistle, I turn it off and go and do something more important. So I didn't even know that Aubameyang wasn't coming out as the captain and talking like a captain did. I know Alan Davis was saying that the only time he's done it is when he scored the hat-trick, and that's it.
Exactly.
Anyone else got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say a player that is very good at coming out after they make a mistake and fronting up to it in the media is David Luiz. But on the flip side, we're probably not giving him the captain's armband.
That's because he's so lovable, though. Yeah, I bet he gives really good hugs and smells nice. And he's got that, as he hugs you, he's going to dangle his hair in your face like that, and you're going to go, stop it, cheeky. I bet he's just great. I want him to stay forever. I'll make you manager. I don't care if he's the kind of bloke that's going to make, when you've lost 6-0, and he's going to cheer everyone up. Tell him a story about his days playing futsal on the beach with Ronaldinho, whose real name was Ronaldo. Did you know that, Kris? Yeah, Ronaldinho's first name is Ronaldo. The Ingenio is fake news. Josh, save me.
Doesn't that mean little Ronaldo?
Yeah, yeah.
Ingenio.
Did you see that Robert Pires was playing paddle with the original Ronaldo today?
Playing what?
I did when Kris tweeted it.
Yeah, there you go.
Playing what?
Paddle. It's like a racket sport.
I thought it was
like squash.
Oh, I see. Nice. Yeah. Richard rocking some retro merch there. Lovely. Good. A decent badge, I'm glad to say. Don't iron over it.
Facing the right way. Cannon facing the right way.
About time. Right then, should we move on to the next bit we're going to talk about? No, I keep going to the wrong bloody button, don't I? Right, so the next section we're going to talk about the striker situation. Right, the notes I've got for this: Aubameyang has been off form all season. He's had a couple of decent games. Apart from that, he's been shocking, looking like a child of a smacked arse. Lacazette works his arse off, but sometimes it doesn't work. I don't really think it's his fault because if anyone has given 100% every single game this season, it is him. Balogun's due to sign a new contract, but I don't think that he's going to be ready to come in and take over either of those two places next season. And Eddie is on his way out. Kris, you're a lover of the Lacazette like myself, and not only is he a good-looking bloke with a wonderful beard, I didn't realise he's going bald though. That's shocking for me. Well, going and gone. Nobody look at Josh. He's a denier.
This is what happens when you either support or play for Arsenal. You lose all your
the worry kills us.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Were you going to ask me the obvious question?
Yeah.
Do I want him to stay?
No, that's coming up later. We want them to stay. What do we do about it? Because at the moment, it's either both and it doesn't work, or it's one or the other, and then it tends to work. Like that video of Freddie that's going around saying he figured out in December 2019 you can't play them both because it leaves us defensively weak. Do you think maybe the days of Aubameyang playing out wide left, or the one game he played out wide right this season was an absolute nightmare? So can we afford to have a £200 million front line of Lacazette, Aubameyang and Pepe and still not score goals?
I mean, you definitely can't have that, because if you're going to play them, then you have to score goals. I think you can play them both, but you can only play them both if you play a 3-back and you play 2 up front. Or you go back to the 90s and you go 4-4-2, which, we're never going to do because Mikel is rigid and refuses to try anything new, and definitely refuses to try anything that makes us remotely attacking. So,
hold on, wait there a sec. Wait there, hold on. I'm going to get it. Carry on.
Controversial opinion. But no, I mean, it's true, isn't it? He is very conservative by nature. All ribs aside,
I think what also doesn't help is that we're talking about the performance levels of a left winger that are 50% below what they were last season. I think Lacazette. Well, Lacazette has
in Aubameyang, do you mean? Or?
In Aubameyang. And what do we think the cause is to that? Because even last season under Arteta, he was still a 20-plus goal a season striker. Right now, he's sitting on fewer goals than Lacazette. And
he looks sad, doesn't he? Like he just looks pissed off, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? Like when a player like, and one thing I would say is we're not in a position to judge. Like we don't know how this COVID stuff has affected players mentally. Like, I know we sort of have a go at players and stuff, and there's probably good justification as to why, but some players may have been affected by others. And he strikes me, Aubameyang, he strikes me as a player who feeds off a crowd. He feeds off the atmosphere, and he feeds off the sort of the free flowing football. We've not had either. We've had no crowds for over a year, and yeah, okay, you could say his form was good initially without a crowd, but we were on a good run at that point, and he was in very good form. But I feel like when he's out of form, he needs that little bit of extra motivation to kick him on, and he hasn't got that, and he just looks kind of cheesed off. We mentioned that Leeds game. That was the last time I remember him smiling, really. So something needs to happen in terms of we either need to shit or get off the pan. Ironic. But, we either need to put our eggs in the basket and play him up front or not. I mean, I would be playing Lacazette up front because I think he gives us more than Aubameyang does at the moment. Is Aubameyang a better goal scorer? Probably, yeah. But does he do all the other things that Lacazette does at the moment? No. And, I know he missed a sitter last Thursday. I'm not even debating that. He absolutely did. But he's not the first one to miss a big chance. Again, see Aubameyang against Olympiacos. People have got short memories. I just think there's a disconnect between him and Arteta. I think that's also clear. I'm not saying they've fallen out beyond all repair, but there's clearly a bit of side eye going on. And I thought it was very pointed that he didn't come off the bench. When was it that he brought on if was he because he was out with flu, wasn't it? Wasn't there a game where he didn't bring him on?
Wasn't it the North
Spurs.
London derby?
Was it the Spurs game? Because it could obviously missed that with the because of the lateness. I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, he doesn't. It just strikes me that Arteta has an issue with him at the moment, and he's almost sort of trying to assert his authority. And it's almost like Aubameyang's going, well, yeah, that's fine. You know, I'll still work and do my bit for the team, but I'm not going to be at full throttle until I'm sort of given a consistent run in the position I'm good at. And, you know, the manager has to take some responsibility because you are playing a centre forward ostensibly at left wing back, you know, and that's just dumb. Like it is just silly. It's not going to work. There's a difference between playing Saka there, who has played there in the past and is a very good defender, and playing Aubameyang there, where it just kills every part of his game that's good. So, you know, same with Pepe playing on the wrong side. It doesn't work. So you've got to play players in the right positions. But yeah, it's a tough one. It is a tough one. But I would be starting Lacazette on Thursday personally. You know, and Aubameyang's been out with flu at the weekend. You know, I'm not sure I buy that personally, but you know, it is what it is.
See, that's the one thing I do buy about that I really do think he was out with a flu of some degree. I think probably saying a cold, but you know, it's just easier to say flu. And yeah, maybe he was ill. I didn't see him in any of the training photos beforehand, so perhaps he has been off. And especially with all the things that have been going on outside of his life as well, perhaps he did need a couple of days off. And I think, yeah, it's just as likely that we've dropped him for, you know, kind of conspiracy reasons than him having a legitimate reason to not be there. I think there's more evidence that stacks up that it's legitimate that he didn't play at the weekend. And I think we always like a conspiracy, don't we?
It's alarming. It's alarming though, isn't it? I mean, Rich, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but the other thing I would say about Aubameyang is it's not just his goal scoring. It's his all-round game. His first touch is gone to shit. His movement has become completely static. He doesn't seem to have energy. Like he doesn't. Something's not right, and I feel like he's a player who desperately needs the end of the season to just sort of recharge and go again. Like feels like he's a bit stale. I don't know if you think that's similar, Rich, but
yeah, I do. I mean, clearly there is something wrong with him in this. I say wrong with him as in not right, as in the sense of, like I say, he looks unhappy. He looks languid. I mean, he was never massively like a high touch player or a very much a creative player. He was a player that got on the end of things and things like that. I think a lot of things have gone into this season and his form particularly being an absolute shit show. You know, Arteta. I mean, look, I'm not as down on Arteta as a lot of people, but he did get things massively wrong with Aubameyang, trying to play Aubameyang as a central striker, but with no support around him, no number 10, no midfielders around him, knocking balls up to him to try and get him to compete with 6'4" centre backs. It's never going to happen. It's not his game. It was, you know, we did the same with Lacazette as well. I mean, at the start of the season, you know, trying to play Lacazette, you know, coming and collecting the ball off the back four and, you know, dropping into midfield. It's just, we weren't playing to their strengths. And I think, you know, on the Tuesday club, I think Alan Davies like hinted at that he's heard that there's some, and I don't want to get too much into it, but there are some very valid and real reasons why Aubameyang's form has absolutely fallen off a cliff. I agree with Kris. I think he needs this season to end. He needs to recharge his batteries and try to almost kind of rediscover his love for the game, because he's gone from a guy who has consistently, I think, hit over 20 goals to just absolutely like I said, fallen off a cliff, and it's been alarming. I think, like I said, I think one part of it, I think it's a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B. I think his attitude and his his demeanor hasn't helped, but I don't think Arteta has helped him with how he's played the game with him. I know Danny mentioned about the fact that the post Boxing Day, like we're in the, I think it's, I don't know what position you said was in, I can't really recall, but it's fairly high up in the table. But everything prior to that was when we didn't have Emile Smith Rowe, we didn't have an Odegaard, we didn't have anybody helping the attackers. You was asking the attackers to be that number 10, to be that attacking midfielder, and it was it just absolutely did not work. And I think it's badly affected Aubameyang's game. Like I said, I think he needs the season to end, and he needs to rediscover his love of football, because he looks very miserable at the minute.
Do you think that he knows he's the star? He is the shining light of this team, the highest played, the man we rely on. And much like Kris, he's sometimes a bit of a diva because he rates himself.
I think he's not.
He goes off for a poo during a game and expects to get away with it.
I'm not paid enough.
I think it's the other thing, that he's not just carrying Arsenal at the moment. If you look at his age, 32, how many national team tournaments has he got left in him, in his legs? And well, possibly 2, maybe, but for playing for
World Cup, are they?
No,
So
I don't think so.
The African Cup of Nations in 22, and then will he make 26? Possibly not.
Exactly, and Gabon have just qualified for the African Cup of Nations, and I think that's probably taken a lot out of him in terms of, you think he carries Arsenal? But look at that Gabon side. I mean, can you name more than 2 other players for him?
I can name one, and even that I spell wrong.
I can name another one, and that's about it. And that's Lamina at Fulham, ex-Saints. That's the only other Gabonese player I can name off the top of my head. So I think it shows you the quality that he's trying to get through into that. And I think that's probably taken a lot out of him as well.
Well, in the current Gabon side, there's 10 players that play in France. Kris gets £1,000 for everyone he can name.
Well, it's
he's gone.
He's just gone
Is
to
he
the
gone?
toilet. He's just gone to drop the kids off at the pool.
I like the way he turns his camera off. let's play him at his own game.
I turned my camera off so I could eat me dinner.
I thought your headache had got really bad. Should you just sit there and wait in silence until he comes back?
I mean, it'd be great for all the listeners to this in the podcast. I hope.
Sorry, listeners. I put full cam on Kris, because all we can see when Kris goes, he's left his door open. He's gone down the stairs to the bathroom, and all we can see is the door handle shaking as he's gripping hold of something. I think
there was no time for him to turn the camera off. He had to go, otherwise.
Well, I've got this waiting. I've changed every now and then. I've got a new thing. I change our avatar. And so I've got everybody on here. I've even got one of Steve and one of Dave. There's the one of you, Richard. Looking quite dashing there.
Lovely.
But put Kris back on until he's gone. He's back.
If you listen carefully, listener, really hard, you'll hear in the background the silent hums of a kazoo orchestra emanating from Kris's bathroom.
Oh, what is it us British have got with toilet humour? The Americans don't get it, do they?
Well,
they get a lot of stuff.
It's because we're going down the toilet in general. Should we move on to the other one? Because I think we covered Aubameyang to death.
Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to do. You brought up Matt Roberts brought this up. There you go. That is for the people at home and on the toilet. This is a tweet I did a couple of weeks ago. It's the front 3 of all the big Premier League teams. Spurs are at the bottom. They paid £48 million for Son, Kane, and Lamela. Admittedly, some of these I've tweaked it a bit because you're not always going to get these front 3. Man United's is Rashford, Cavani, and Martial, 60 million. Liverpool, Mane, Firmino, Salah, 105 million. Chelsea, Pulisic, Werner, and Ziyech. They don't always play together. They've usually got Giroud in there, 143 million. Man City have got Sterling, Aguero, and Mahrez, 106 million. But Arsenal, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Pepe, 194 million. Now, when I take this picture off the screen, I do not want to see anybody crying. But, Richard, you've let us down. How'd you get on, Kris? Win, lose, or draw?
For those of you who had 55 minutes, congratulations. We'll be sending you a prize next week.
Is it a bag of corn?
I feel like a new man.
Did you come out of there like you had a stomach full of helium on tippy toes? We did this when you were gone, Kris.
Yeah.
Is that the 83-84 green kit?
It is, yes.
Has it been signed?
Mm-hmm. But not by actual
Arsenal.
players. No, not by no.
No.
It was a get. Hang on. It's very heavy, so
Very rare. It's worth a fortune.
it is. I'll have to unplug. Hang on, 2 seconds.
Listeners at home,
Who would have been the signatures on that if he got it at the time? What would be
John Hawley,
Samson,
Lee Chapman,
John Hawley,
It's going to make
Rankin.
It's going to make brilliant podcasts, this, isn't it? For people who
Well,
can't
people listening at home, Kris has got a framed shirt behind him. I've asked him to pick it up. It is huge, and it is the 1983-84 away green shirt, and it's got loads of signatures on it. Who are the signatures, Kris? Are they the players?
No, this was a gift to me from the guys from the Pirates. I'm just trying to see the plaque.
He's trying to lift this up, people, whilst keeping his headphones in. It's a replica shirt then.
Yes.
Because otherwise you should go to prison for that. Okay, it says down the bottom of it, Kris Carpenter, manager, thank you for all the seasons from the Bergkamp Pirates. There you go. And all his teammates have signed it and they've dated it. Half those fuckers have left now, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, we technically don't have a club right now, so yeah. It is a replica,
very nice.
but I can confirm I do actually have the original.
I know you do.
It's away and it's actually in protective wrapping because it's very expensive. But yes, that is indeed.
Let's see. Let's put Carl up and see what Carl thinks about it. I've changed the avatar to a picture of Carl, people at home and on the toilet. Carl doesn't look happy, does he, Josh? Should we get on with it?
Carl's wearing his sunglasses because I think he can see the reflection off the back of my head.
Right, where were we? Did you say we should move on to something? Any thoughts on this? Yeah. The fact that we spent 194 million, is any of that misleading?
Yeah, I would say Kane came through their academy. Rashford came through their academy.
But on money spent. And what they're getting for their money.
Is spelt wrong.
It's spelt wrong?
Lamella.
Lamella is spelt.
There's only one L in Lamella.
It's spelt cunt.
I was literally about to make the same joke.
Yeah, Chris will get it if you want to go for it. Yeah.
Oh dear. So we spent a lot of money and not getting our money's worth is the point I was making.
I think.
Well, not only that, but it was spent so badly when you think like half of that came in the same season, Aubameyang and Lacazette, like bizarrely, and then supposedly, if you believe the rumours, Pepe. The manager didn't want him when he was bought. It's been our transfer policy has been so poor.
The people who were involved in all of those transfers aren't at the club anymore, and I think that might tell you as a damning thing. Because as much as people want to, and this is where I'm going to come to the defence of Edu, go our transfers have been shit. The number of transfers that have been associated to Edu or seemingly put to him and his group aren't even responsible. People will go, we spent 72 million on Pepe. Well, that's not under his regime. He's trying to fix it. Some of the people that are coming in, there's plenty of positives to see from that. But yeah, everybody involved in those transfers is no longer at the club. And I think that tells you about the way that we had conducted business in the past. And I think even going to having Aubameyang and Lacazette at the club generally has fucked over 4 managers for us. Because all of them had to compromise to try and get both of those guys into the team. All of them. And it resulted in Wenger getting the sack, resulted in Emery, I think, ultimately moving away from his principles and being sacked. And Ljungberg just, again, couldn't work it out. And we're seeing the same problems with Arteta. And finally, someone's going to bite the bullet, I think, and get rid of one of them. Because as great as they are, like Chris has said, you've got to compromise on your systems. And we finally got a manager who is strong enough to say, no, as much as we might not like his football, it's what we've needed for a hell of a long time. And it shows the failings of the previous regimes that no one has said, no, I can't cope with these two players in there. They're amazing assets to have, but actually we're stronger generally without one of them, because at least then you can concentrate on your efforts trying to get the other guy to be scoring the 20, 30 goals a season that you need. Because I think, Kris, if we didn't have Aubameyang, Lacazette is fully capable of a 25, 30 goal a season go, isn't he? He was doing that at Lyon.
Yeah. But this is the problem, Josh. This is the whole problem about Arsenal. if Arsenal is the way we're run at the moment, and the way we're managed, and this is not all on Mikel. So it's not. I'm not just having a go at him unnecessarily. This is the whole transfer policy, the ownership, everything. We're the sort of club that go out and buy a Lamborghini, and we get it back home and we look at it and we go, "Oh, that Lamborghini, that's fucking mustard. That. How can we improve that?" I know. What we'll do is we'll take the engine out. We'll put a Fiesta engine in, and we'll see if that works. And then we go, "Oh, do you know what? That isn't really the thing, is it?" So instead of taking the Fiesta engine back out and putting in the correct engine, we change the fucking wheels instead and expect the engine to work differently. And then that doesn't work. So we decide to put a spoiler on it just to see if that changes it. And what we get left with is just a mishmash of what we actually bought in completely the wrong situation. And it's the same with our players. You know, we buy a centre forward from Lyon and we play him as a number 10 or a deep lying attacking midfielder. You know, we very, very rarely deploy him as exactly what you said at Lyon. He's a poacher. You know, he was Francis Jeffers with talent. You know, that's what he did at Lyon. He was a guy who would, yes, he could get the odd goal from outside the box. Yes, he could, work hard and create the play. But he excelled at Lyon because he had in one particular player, Nabil Fekir. And when he joined Arsenal, he had Mesut Ozil. And there's no coincidence that under that setup, he was our player of the year because he was brilliant that year. And a lot of that was coming from Ozil assists or Ozil second assists or feeding through that midfield area. And we're now doing the same with Aubameyang, you know, playing him out of position. There's nothing wrong with playing him wide left, but play him wide left. Don't play him as a left back. You know, don't buy Pepe, who's ostensibly a counter-attacking, a very talented counter-attacking speedy winger, and play him on the wrong wing and play every style of football imaginable to not get the best out of him. You know, it just boggles my mind. And this is why I never get too excited about transfers, because I want to see how we're going to use these players. You know, I'm kind of a bit tired of assigning players that we think we can craft into something they're not. Buy the players for what they are and use them in the positions they're good in. We did it to Lucas Torreira, another one, you know, brilliant defensive midfielder, all action, runs around the midfield. What do? I think Emery tried to play him at 10 in one game. He was played sort of kind of a wide midfield. He was played at the base of a diamond. Like, just play the players in the positions where you bring them in. And I genuinely cannot think of any other club. I'm sure there are, but off the top of my head, I can't think of other clubs who play players so badly out of position. You know, Bayern Munich aren't going to play Joshua Kimmich at centre forward. You know, they've got Lewandowski. They're not going to deploy Lewandowski, one of the best central strikers in Europe, as a number 10. They put him in the positions where he excels and he scores goals. You know, and that's what frustrates me about us. You know, and one other thing, I'll leave it this before I continue on this rant, but I do think Mikel has got it in him to take the reins off. And somebody said in the chat, I think it was our good friend, where was it? Oh, I'll have to find it. I think it was our friend Thunder Road anyway. But he said that he listened to my rant from a few months ago where I had notes and listed off all the stuff I'm not happy with, and nothing's really changed. You know, and I think I was saying it then. I was like, Mikel, just there you go. Let me put it on screen. Just take the reins off, you know? And ironically, it's the same thing that's happening at Spurs, where they're all pissed off because Mourinho just refuses to let them utilize their attacking forwards, their attacking play. And I just think that if Mikel just actually went, do you know what? We've got some really talented forward players here, in particular in Lacazette and Aubameyang and in Pepe and Ødegaard and Smith Rowe and Saka. I mean, there's 6 players. Let them play and trust your defensive midfielders to do their job. That's. So, yeah, I know you asked me a question on Lacazette, but I had to kind of go off on that little tangent there.
No, I think there's some great points from there as well. And I think one of the things that you've mentioned is shoehorning players into positions. I think that's one of the upsides I've seen of, to quote unquote, the new regime and the quote unquote, the process is that the players we've seen come in have played in the positions that we expected them to play in. Yeah. So under Edu and Arteta, we can moan about player X and player Y that was brought in, but they've come in and they've played that position. He asked for a left-footed centre-back. Pablo Mari came in. He has played left centre-back. He asked for another one to come in. Gabriel has played there. Wanted a goalkeeper. We got a guy perhaps who didn't know what. Yeah, we do. I think that in that particular one, I would play him out of position because goalkeeper doesn't look like it is his position.
Villa, but then we've got we should have a look at him.
Is that the one that enjoys a couple of pies after a game?
That's the one. Still a better keeper than Leno, but anyway, move on.
We've got a better keeper than Leno in our ranks if we want to play him. Tiny little Aussie guy.
Oh, yeah.
Chuck him in the nets once. But he was another player that, we could try. But that's one positive that I can see. And I think I've said it in, what's that? The biggest improvement we have seen by far and away from Arsenal this season has been off the field. We haven't, and it has been years since we have seen any kind of progress off the field. Because as we've just gone through it, and Danny's just shown how badly we've done resourcing of the club and the people we've had there. And we can blame the owners to an extent, but they are also the same owners who have identified it and got rid of those people. So they've got a bit like Granit Xhaka, if they've got a bad enough record, you're never going to bring them through to redemption. But you've also got to give them that faint praise of they have identified that the guys bringing those players in didn't necessarily have the right mindset to be bringing those people in.
Would you say that is what the process is? When people ask the question of, well, what is the process? What's the process? Trust the process. Mockingly say that. Would you say that is the process of trying to get rid of the players that you don't want in the squad and the players that have been brought in by the previous regime that don't fit, that don't think, and that you're not going to see the benefits of this process until next season? Would you say?
It's even further than that. Chelsea aren't a great club manager every 2 seasons. They're in the position they are because they've got a system and a process. Yeah, exactly. But they've got a process behind them that works. They might have gone a bit dizzy in the summer and spent £250 million because it was lying around. But prior to that, it's because they've got a way that they want to play, a system that they've got in place, and it has worked well for them. Hoovering up the talent available to them in the under-21s league, sending them all out on loan, offsetting that for their financial fair play, and bringing in those big players that are pushing them to league titles, Champions Leagues. We're looking to put in a process. And how many seasons have we moaned about it previously that we haven't dealt with the glaring issue? Even under Wenger, you could see the vast amount of dead wood that existed within our squads. Well, now someone is finally ripping that up and going, we're getting rid of these guys. Yeah, we might not like that Mesut Ozil had to cancel his contract because nobody else wanted him across Europe. The same goes for Shkodran Mustafi. Socrates, we might not like it, but you know what? We've got to get rid of these kind of people at the moment. And the fact we've got 2 people at the club in important footballing positions setting our stall out is a bit like, well, if we hadn't left it so long, we could probably have done this whilst being competitive on the field, but we've left it so long that we've got this problem, and that's where we're at. And I can't see anybody out there, any real tangible reason for them to hate Edu for the job he's done at the moment and find much to so harshly and be so hypercritical of him. And if they can bring tangible reasons to me, I'll happily listen.
Edu brought in Partey, one of the best midfielders in the world. And just think how Arsenal fans would have been if Aubameyang would have gone. They'd have gone, Edu didn't get him to sign a new deal. He needs his head cutting off and chopping in the bin and putting a cabbage in the place. It's sometimes with Arsenal at the moment, you can't do right for doing wrong, or can't do wrong for doing. One of those sayings was right and one of them was wrong. And much like Edu, I can't get anything right according to how you look at it. Well, what else were we going to talk about? Okay,
just one other really quick thing, just to tack on the end of that. When you come out, as Vinay has done, as Edu has done, as Arteta has done, when you come out with sound bites like the process, the project, the long term, how many, Josh will know this better than anyone, how many England managers have come out with that, a golden generation? When you come out with statements like that, you got to back them up, because if you don't, those statements are just going to continually be recycled, and other clubs are going to go, the process. And now even we're mocking our own statements. If you haven't got a process, just stay quiet. Don't say anything. Just do your business and let your football do the talking. Don't come out with these buzz phrases if you can't actually then back it up in the boardroom or in the transfer market.
Well, it was old Don Raoul, wasn't it, with his Rolodex of contacts, and we finally realised that his Rolodex involved a bulk order of brown envelopes from Staples, and that's all we really kind of got from it. And I think that's why we've got this kind of underlying ridicule of any soundbite that comes out from our board, because it has been, and I don't want to kind of go tyrant, but it's a very corporate, some may say Americanized buzzwords that are coming out from our boardroom. But you know what? We've finally got two guys with a pair of bollocks to actually work their way through it. And we're seeing that we're clearing down the decks. And you can see from when it started with Josh Kroenke, the stuff that he was saying, we are seeing the fruits of that work. Unfortunately, at that side in the back room, you've only got 2 times every year to show what you can do in the 2 transfer windows. Outside of that, we don't see anything that happens. So we can continue and forget. As you say, people got short memories. They forget how ecstatic we were with the number of people that we got rid of in January. It was hallelujahs.
And that summer window was, that summer break was what, about 2-3 weeks or something like that, because of COVID. That's the, again. I probably sound like an absolute Arteta apologist, but I do think there's massive caveats to some of the criticism. Because I've seen, because now he's reached, I think, the same amount of games as Emery. And I saw the Albino had put out a stat of the points per games and the record that Arteta has over 51 games to the record that Emery had over 51 games. And whereas I think maybe Emery was maybe not that he wasn't out, he's obviously a very good manager, Emery. He was not as clueless as made out, kind of thing. But the team that Emery inherited and the situation that Emery inherited was very different to what Arteta has inherited. I don't get me wrong. I think Arteta has made some utter balls ups this year. Is he going for another trip to the lab? My love for Arteta has set his belly a quiver. There are some massive caveats to our this season alone, and he has got some massive things wrong. For me, I think that the constantly trying to make Willian happen as you know, I think has been a failing of his. I think the treatment of Saliba just has been absolutely ridiculous. You know, a 30 odd, how is he, like 27 million we paid for him or something silly like that. I can't remember how much it is. And to just like to seemingly ostracize him and not start here, like not even give him a chance. Seemingly, I think is another thing to put on Arteta's head. You know, the fact that he's, you know, and even if to a certain extent I did agree with him with the treatment with not having Ozil in the squad and stuff like that. You know, biting off to his nose to spite his face in not having a creative midfielder for half the season, which has really, you know, really hurt us pre Christmas. But I do think there's green shoots there, and I would say that, and I think I've said it on the previous pod. I think there is a process that is happening. I don't just think it is a buzzword. I think it is. I think Arteta, when he came in, has had a very different remit to say what Emery had. I think Emery was come in and quickly get us into the Champions League as fast as you can. Whereas I think there is a process, like you said, and most of that work is being done off the field. Yeah, that's just my little rant. But yeah, hope you're okay, Kris.
Can confirm that round 2 is complete. It
takes me longer than that to make my fucking mind up. Right,
I'm losing stones by the minute.
Yeah, I wish. Right, quick one here. If we had offers for Lacazette, Aubameyang, and Pepe, who would you want them? Who would you want to go, Josh? I'd personally, Aubameyang and Pepe. I'd get rid of. I don't care. The money doesn't matter.
If offers came in for them, all three. All three.
You're gonna watch a grown man cry.
I would be happy to see all three of them go. Based on what I've just said at the moment, that I trust us to find decent replacements.
With all the scouts gone.
This isn't like, well, you say all the scouts have gone. Exactly. Most teams get people by data now. And they're all going to have to watch them remotely. You don't need the size of scouting team. I think people have kind of forgotten how bloated Arsenal were in terms of how big every side was. We didn't get rid of every one of our scouts. We culled the bloat, the fat. We were too big for what we needed to be done. We just didn't modernize. And some of that you can push all the way back. If your name is Alan Algar, you can go all the way back to Wenger and blame it on that because we didn't modernize quickly enough. But I think we're just... I'd be happy to see any of that kind of group go, because currently I trust what's coming through the academy. And also there's plenty of attacking talent that is very exciting across Europe that is still gettable for us to replace all three of them, to be honest. But I think...
Richard? Don't breathe, Josh, because then I think you're finished speaking.
I was going to say the one I think we'd miss the most if they left would be Lacazette.
Similar to my point there. Richard, what do you reckon?
Well, sorry to be, but I agree wholeheartedly with Josh. I don't think I can put it any better than him. I think it was very succinct.
You can't come up there.
No worries. Any of them, like I said, if a decent offer come in, I would take. With these players, we're ninth or whatever it is. So if decent money and decent offer came in with any of them, I would take them and reinvest. So I do think we've got a very exciting academy. I'm dying to see Aziz break through to the first team. I think we could have a player on our hands with that kid. But yeah, like I said, it's. I'm not wedded to any of those players. I don't know about you, Kris.
I mean, I wouldn't be selling any of the three this summer personally, if I had the choice. Just because I think we've got a season of all three left in them. At least Pepe, potentially longer, but it just all depends on the market, doesn't it? Like, I hate to be a fence sitter, but it really depends on the market, what sort of players people are looking for, what kind of contracts are on the table.
That striker merry-go-round is going to be very interesting across Europe.
Yeah, it is, and I wouldn't blame particularly Laka. I wouldn't blame him for sitting tight, saying, I want a 3-year deal. I wouldn't blame him at all. But it's up to us to find a happy medium. I have a suspicion if we offered him 1+1, he would take it. But it's whether we would be prepared to offer him that kind of deal. And the problem, I think the problem the club and Mikel are going to have now with negotiations, if they want to keep some players on short-term deals, is as soon as they go into negotiations, the first name they're going to bring up is Willian. And they're going to say, well, okay, so you're prepared to give me a 1-year deal, but yet you were prepared to sign a 32-year-old on a 3-year deal on very high wages, by the way. And he's massively underperformed, by the way. Whereas, whatever criticism you want to level at Lacazette, yes, he's underperformed this season, but he's also performed at times this season. It's not been a stellar season, but he's contributed a lot, particularly over recent months. So, yeah, that there's a lot of wiggle room in terms of negotiations for these players, and I don't think this window is a good selling window at all. I think you try and bring in the right players and you build around them, and I think Eddie's probably going to go, isn't he? So that leaves one striker spot, which I'm guessing is going to be taken by Balogun if that happens. Don't know. I could see Balogun going on loan first of all. But I think because he'll need to play regularly, which he won't do straight away. But then there's talk of Edson Oddwad, isn't there? So it's going to be an interesting summer. But I think we need to be retaining rather than selling too many. But we do have decisions to make on a few of the loan players, and let's not forget what Mustafi was. He was let go, wasn't he? But Kolasinac is on loan, isn't he?
He is, unfortunately, for everybody involved.
So we've got that to deal with, plus the likes of Guendouzi and Torreira and a few others that are youngsters that are under contract. So, yeah, it's going to be...
Do you guys think Bellerin will be off in the summer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just feels like a natural parting of the ways, doesn't it? I wouldn't sell him, but I sort of feel like, he hasn't played as much recent weeks. Things have gone very quiet. And he strikes me as the sort of guy who would probably quite like to experience Europe and play somewhere else. He's quite a culture vulture, isn't he? So it feels like a natural time. But if you're going to sell him, you need to have a good bid in for your replacement. Lamptey's the obvious choice, I'm sure Josh would tell you, but
nope. Lamptey is not the obvious choice. He's a right wing back. He's a completely different player.
Well, yeah, but what I mean is if we were to use him in the way we use Tierney on the other side, but
be interesting.
Yeah, I just think it feels like a natural time, and I know, like Love Rami's put in the chat, man says he wouldn't sell Bellerin. I wouldn't, because I think he's got a lot of unnecessary criticism. Is he elite level? No, but I don't think he's been anywhere near as bad as some people seem to think.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. Again, clicking on the wrong window. Where were we at? The fullback situation, which we just started to cover. What do we do about left back? Because it looks like Tierney isn't. Tierney isn't going to be able to do every game all the way through the season, which is what we need a player to do. And we've got Cedric, who can cover at both fullbacks, and then we've got the thing at the three situations. It's like the three jobs a right back can do. You can be a right wing back, which would be Cedric. You can be a right wing back and a right back like Bellerin, or you can be a defensive right back, which it seems to be what Chambers was doing. Anyone got any thoughts on? We don't need three, do we? But we do need someone to cover at left back.
What's Armand Traore's phone number? Anyone know? Maybe he's an option.
Domino Pizza in North London.
Yeah, or maybe Gael Clichy's still knocking around, isn't he? We need to sign someone, but it's the problem of you're signing somebody to be cover, aren't you? Like, how do you sell that to a left back? I think you have to go young. You have to try and get somebody in who's like, either was sort of 19 to 22, and you say to them, look, yes, we're not going to bullshit you. Kieran Tierney is ahead of you in the pecking order, but if you play well, you'll get games. You'll get a lot of European games. Well, I say that you probably won't get any European games next season, but you'll get
you got the UEFA Intertoto Cup
conference. Yeah, and you get the charity
surely
shield.
There's like a young left back from the Championship, a bit like didn't Bayern buy that? Is it Amar Richards from?
Yeah,
on a free transfer. Free transfer
they love
from
a
Reading.
free transfer, don't they?
Yeah.
But like, surely there's someone
that.
down at that level that could be an understudy, and like you said, get the experience in if we're in the Europa League or whatever next season, or the League Cup and stuff like that. And as Danny said, Tierney's not going to be able to play every single game.
Stan has it. Kolasinac is back next season.
God.
Oh mate, he is far from the answer. Bless him. Get the corporal back. See what happens. But I agree with Chris. Buy one. Just buy, because I don't think we got Joel Lopez is the young lad. But according to
right back,
George Bird, he's nowhere near ready.
Is he actually a left back or is he a right back? He's a left back.
I suppose he's a left back.
But if he's not ready, then I mean, and even if you go abroad, I mean, you can go to any of the big four leagues or somewhere like Portugal, or I wonder if we're going to be quite active in the South American market with Edu's contacts this year. I wonder if that may be the route we go down, because South American fullbacks traditionally are attacking and can't defend for toffee, which sounds like exactly the sort of left back we'll go for. Maybe Andre Santos will come back. Maybe that's where we're going to go. But no, I wonder if sort of fullbacks are the way. Maybe a South American option is where we go. Maybe, I don't know. But Josh is your man for Championship left backs, I would suggest.
Yeah, and Tom was doing a show today about another young bloke called Martinelli from Brazil. Now, I didn't watch all of it to see what position he played in, but it's another player we've been linked to. But
he's a forward from Fluminense.
I knew it had to be with a name like that.
I was talking about him yesterday on Twitter DMs. So he looks like an interesting prospect, but again, we're not always going to get so lucky bringing people straight out of the Brazilian league. The same with, I think City are going after someone straight out of Brazil. We've seen Gabriel Jesus. Not every single one of them is going to be a hit. That's the only thing. There is going to be risks. There's plenty, I'd say, in the Championship. The big thing is, though, and kind of like Chris was saying, is they're all going to be backups. All of them going to be backups for them. And that's a bit of a problem. Because
big problem.
Yeah, because if you're early 20s and you're smashing it in the Championship and Arsenal come along, chances are someone like an Aston Villa is also going to be along and they're going to offer you their first team spot at left back instead. And it's the question of, on your development, we've seen a lot of English players now finally realise that game time is better than the stature of the club you're currently at, because you'll get to that club in the end. You've seen it. We already mentioned Lamptey. He's on Chelsea's books, realised he was never going to get game for them because they'll just buy a new right back instead of try him out. So he left and he got game time at Brighton. And you wouldn't say on the face of it, Matt Targett is a player you would have gone straight for. But he starts every week for Villa, and Matty Cash at right back. But those players, when you look at it in Championship, they'll look at it and go, I could probably get into one of those sides and spend a couple of years there, and then I'll be first choice for an Arsenal or for a Liverpool.
But then the alternative is you go down the Stefan Lichtsteiner route, isn't it? You go down.
We've been burnt by this before, haven't we?
Exactly.
And that's the problem. We spent 3 or 4 seasons trying to find a perfectly good backup for Bellerin, and we failed until now. And now we want to get rid of Bellerin.
We'll end up taking like Marcelo from Real Madrid, won't we? Because we seem to like buying Real Madrid cast-offs. A player that's out of his not out of his depth, but fullbacks are difficult. I mean, Bayern Munich went and bought Bouna Sarr, who wasn't even getting in the Marseille team. And anyone that's watched Marseille will tell you that's kind of funny, because they're an absolute car crash. So and they went and bought him because they wanted cover at right back.
Really?
And they got cover at right back. Benjamin Pavard is their wonderfully talented French right back. But yeah, they bought Sarr as a fullback, and I think Sarr's I think he's 24, 25. He knows he's second choice, but he's got the opportunity to join Bayern Munich, so he went. So maybe we've still got that pull, but I don't think we'll have that pull if we're not in Europe, not for players like that.
I also think, do you think that, like I said, the pull, along with the fact that you're not going to be, there's a very good chance that you'll get game time because of Kieran Tierney's fragility, shall we say? Do you know what I mean? That could be another bit of a selling point. I personally, I think, like I said, we've been burnt by the Lichtsteiner. What is going on at Danny's house? Holy smoke! We've been burnt with the Lichtsteiners, the pensioners kind of thing. Even though from what I've heard, he was actually really good around the dressing room and teaching and helping Bellerin come on, kind of thing. He just, unfortunately, his legs had carked it by the time he'd come to us. I personally, I would look younger down the championship for our left back. I think the pull, coupled with the fact that you're definitely going to get some game. You might not be starting every single game, but there's a big possibility that you could get game time at Arsenal, who always seem to have injuries. I've seen a lot of people in the chat talking about some of Lloyd Kelly. Is he the lad at Bournemouth?
Is it Bournemouth? Sorry, not Bristol City. Yeah, Bournemouth. Yeah.
And Max Aarons, if I get it right, he's the right back for
Norwich.
I'm assuming we're assuming the chat box has moved to signing right backs at the same time. Because I've seen him coming up, and I'm going, no, it was Lewis, who's Newcastle, who's their left back.
Just doing the Arsenal thing of signing a player that we in a position we don't need it to convert him into a player into a position we do.
Perfect.
But the other thing as well is when we signed Kieran Tierney, if I'm not mistaken, Kolasinac was our first choice left back at the time. I mean, Kieran Tierney joined because he backed himself to get in ahead of Kolasinac, and he took his place.
Yes,
I'm not saying
is shit though.
I mean, yeah, I agree, but he is also an international, international level left back who's played in Germany and played at the top level. I mean, yes, I agree. Based upon his Arsenal performances, he wasn't the greatest, but he was still an established first-team player at Arsenal at an international club, having been under two different managers and was playing every week. And Tierney came in and went, well, fuck that, I'll back myself, I'll get in this team. So you kind of also, I wouldn't be against us signing an established fullback who says, well, I quite like the challenge. It's a very fine line, isn't there? I wouldn't be against like PSG went out and got Juan Bernat a few years ago. That type of signing would be fine. He's not past it, but he's at that age where he's only going to give you 2 or 3 years. That would be fine. So I think if you can sign somebody who's sort of 27, 28, who is happy to come in and do a job, Monreal basically, that kind of a player. But again, it's how the club and the manager sell the project to them, isn't it? Or the process, I should say.
Right, next thing we should cover. We're getting towards. I've DM'd the listeners' questions to whoever wants to do them in our Twitter DM group. What happens if we get knocked? We've done the injury thing. Yeah, what happens if we get knocked out on Thursday? Should Arteta go? Can Edu take any of the blame? Is it easier just to blame Kroenke? Richard, you start off with that. Then I'm going to sit back here and talk to my cats.
So go through this one by one. So if we get knocked out, should Arteta get the sack? Oh God, I still say no. My default position is no, and I get that I probably sound like a madman because
I agree.
Being 10th in the league is completely unacceptable for the club. Being out of every competition is unacceptable for the club. I completely get that. I don't think he'd, because of this. Again, I'm going to say it, and I know everyone's going to scream at me in the chat box. That the project, the process that he guess he's trying to do. I would personally say if we'd got to Christmas or this time next season, and obviously things haven't significantly improved, then he needs to be given the bullet, and he needs to get the old Spanish archer.
To do it himself.
Give it to him. Yeah.
Get an arrow, shoot it in the air, done it himself, save money on hiring someone.
Edu again, I would say again, you have to judge him on this window coming up as well, this summer window, what we do in this business. Because I want to see what him and Arteta do with this window. I know again it's another not truncated window, but you've got the Euros and stuff in it, which is always kind of complicates things a little bit with the summer transfer window. But they've actually got a pre-season to do transfers and get the team ready. I think a big chunk, because we've been so shit this year, a big chunk of our players probably might not make it to the Euros, kind of thing. I think Saka and so forth is so I think this time next year, if we haven't seen significant improvements, then I would be calling for both of them to get gone. I mean, like I said, I can understand why people would want it now, because like I said, we are 10th or 9th, whatever it is, and it's pre-Christmas. It was a shit show, and it still is a little bit kind of thing. But no, I'm still in the trust the process side of the whole thing. Yeah, for want of a better phrase. But don't get me wrong, I get it. I get why people are annoyed. I get why people don't think it.
I'm guessing PSG.
I'm so glad.
No, he's offside.
No, I thought Kris was just really happy that I was seeing things from his point of view. Yeah, that's what I clearly thought.
Phil Macker makes a good point here on YouTube. He says Arteta has a buy for the COVID season as football is broken unless we snow dive down the league. So I thought I'd have a quick look, Josh. This season, Premier League teams have sacked 3 managers. But last season it was 7. Season before that, it was 6. Season before that, it was 10. Maybe most of the other clubs are looking at this season as just a write-off, and there's no point sacking anyone.
I'd caveat that in those 2 seasons prior, Watford were a team in the Premier League. I think they went through 6 managers in that time. Exactly. But no, in seriousness, teams have been a lot slower and have kind of sat back in terms of what they're doing in their managerial situation. I remember earlier in the season, a good, strong, loud majority of the Brighton fan base wanted Graham Potter sacked because of the job that he was doing there, just not picking up points. Yeah, played good football, but it didn't lead to results. Wanted him gone. And I think it's the same for everybody that's been hovering around that side. I know what's going on with Newcastle. They're always, a bag of whatever you say, dicks,
shite.
Spanners, bag of shite, whatever's going on there as well. Mike Ashley isn't getting rid of Steve Bruce for a while, whilst it's still funny for him to see a load of Geordies just going fucking mental every week.
Mentaler.
He doesn't want to get rid of him because he doesn't want to have to pay him off.
No.
Exactly. And I think there's a lot of managers you can't see. Roy Hodgson, if Palace were having a bad season, they'll just wait because he's out of contract at the end of the season. They'll just bring someone new in at that point. I think the way the season has set up, it kind of makes sense that not many changes have been made. But then we're talking about the three managers that have left are all from the sides that other than Leeds, it's the 2 sides that came up. Oh dear.
He's called you Steve. I had to scroll up to see who Steve Wright was. Then I remembered he thinks you're Steve Wright. Oh, cheeky Phil.
No. Yes, you got Fulham and West Brom.
Super Flea.
Paying with Sports Direct vouchers. Perfect. You can get an old Xbox from game while he's at it. You can have a Debenham shop while he's at it, and they own Debenhams now.
Yeah.
Okay. You can have some of that.
They can give him one of those massive mugs.
Yeah. Fill it full of gravy to the brim, and Steve Bruce will be happy for days.
That's great.
Yeah. I think there's just a lot of, because it's so congested, no one really knows what to do right now. It's only us that have kind of fallen so far down. Spurs as well having an awful season. But for me, I'm kind of at the sense of I'd like to see Arteta at least get one pre-season. I feel sorry for the guy, and that we've got a guy coming straight into his first manager role, and he's not had 6 weeks with a team to distill his ideas and really just kind of fulfill that. And I think at the moment, I could have blamed his previous, he's been in 51 games, probably 30 games of that you could blame on the fact that our squad was too bloated, full of players who didn't want to be there, and a mentality that brought the whole side down. He hasn't had that now. We got rid of most of those in January.
I do largely agree with that, but you do also have to mention the words Thomas and Tuchel. He's transformed Chelsea in 6 weeks, and their squad is not. Don't get me wrong, their squad is better than ours, but it's not. It's not littered with firing international players, is it? Really, not.
I mean, he's stopped them from conceding, but it's the same Chelsea that just lost 5-2 to West Brom during the week last week. They lost to West Brom 5-2.
Freak result, but I take your point.
I think in
West
general
Brom,
they've
Southampton 3-0. They're on a roll.
He still can't get Timo Werner firing as well, and I think that's another.
At the moment.
Well, that's the kind of thing that if it was Arteta in there, then you'd be like, well, of course, he's an experienced manager. I think that's where you look at someone like Aubameyang as well. Is that both these people have struggled trying to get a player that essentially has been playing on the left wing, cutting into their right foot, and is great in a counter-attack, struggling to score this season. I think whether or not it's a wider issue around that, but I don't know. Really, it's tough on what to do with the Arteta situation, because it's a case of, I don't want to say who do you bring in, because I'm sure people could reel off a load of names. I know the only thing I do know is the answer isn't Graham Potter.
Go on, Chris.
Sorry, no, carry on. I'll come in after you.
I was just looking at the players that Chelsea have bought, and they spent an absolute bloody fortune on. You got Christian Pulisic, who they paid 58 million for. He scored. No, not that one. Timo Werner. Oh, there you go, Timo Werner. He scored 34 goals last season in all competitions for Leipzig. This season, he's got 10 for Chelsea after spending. How much did they spend on him? 50 million quid. And then you got Pulisic as well. He's not scoring many goals. Just going to have a look how much. And he scored 4 goals this season, Pulisic. He's meant to be the next great American hope, isn't he? I mean, he's got 15 in 36 for the USA. So it's not just Aubameyang not scoring goals. There's loads of players. I mean, look, that's been the part of the problem. What happened to the screen?
I don't know.
Rich has dropped out.
Rich dropped out for a second,
That was part of Liverpool's problem, wasn't it? How many games? They lost 6 home games in a row. And then you look at the fact that Mane and Salah and Firmino, they all went through a dry spell. It's just like someone was saying earlier in the chat, this whole season, there's so many odd things going on. And I don't think it's fair to judge any manager until the season is back, the next season when everything's back to normal, which is what you were kind of hinting at, Josh.
Yeah, and again, there's another one for you there. Mane, another left winger who has just not turned up this season. If you look at his goal scoring, he's got 3 goals since Christmas in all competitions. There's something odd about left wingers, I think, this season, and their just inability to turn up. But Chris, you had a point on Arteta as well, and
I might surprise a few here, but I do agree with Rich. To be honest, I am quite down. Yeah, I am quite down on Mikel's ways, and I do think he's got a lot of learning to do, and I still maintain that no manager or coach should be at Arsenal and learning on the job. They just shouldn't. And I know that every club says, "Oh, we're a big club," and everybody says that, but we are statistically. Financially, size of the stadium, location, we're a massive club, and we should not be having a apprentice style coach, somebody who's in there learning on the job. We should have had the finished article and brought Arteta in under his wing, if anything. That would have been how I would have gone it if you wanted him on the coaching staff. But that said, I'm not so sure I agree with Josh on the pre-season point, but I do agree on the longevity point, and I do think tomorrow Thursday is massive. And what I would say is I don't think it's fair to want him sacked, but what I do think is very, very serious questions have to be asked of him. Like no fucking about here. If we lose that tie, and again, don't get me wrong, Slavia Prague are no mugs. They're a decent outfit, but we should be getting to that final. I said it when we qualified against Olympiacos. And when I looked at that draw and I said, there is no excuse now. Arsenal should be in that final. We just should be. There should be no excuse. And yeah, we'll probably lose to Man United on penalties, as written in the stars. But we should be getting to the final as a minimum. That's a minimum requirement. And the fact that we have spectacularly pissed the league position away, whether that's individual errors or coaching or whatever it is, we've still pissed it away. We would have to be asking very serious questions, because we're putting the faith in a man who ultimately has, whether you like it or not, less points than Emre. Football has been debatable at best. I haven't enjoyed watching us very often for quite a while, if I'm completely honest. And some of the signings have been great, and others have really not been great. So there's a very, very fine balance between what he's done well and what he hasn't done well. And his man management as well is something that, he needs to learn that very quickly. He needs to stop being so principled and actually give players an opportunity. And, as you said, Josh, discipline was needed at this club badly, 100%, but not if it means sacrificing players, and not if it means sending arguably your best defender back to France to play his way into probably a move to a bigger club in the summer. Not if it means shipping out a player who was clearly influenced by other players and is also now the captain of France under-21s. So he's so badly disciplined that he's been made captain of the under-21s. We all know who I'm talking about there. So, I say I agree with Rich. I think you stick with him, but massive questions need to be asked. And transfer policy needs to be thought about very carefully if we don't get through that tie. And in my opinion, if we don't get to the final, if we lose it, fair enough. Anyone can lose a one-off final. That's the way it is. But we should be getting to the final in this competition now. We just should be.
Yeah, I just wonder how the club show that they're putting pressure on Arteta, because I think that's the thing that we, especially without a crowd being in place at the moment, at the stadium, you can't see any tangible way of the club, because clubs don't tend to come out and say that there is pressure on the manager. And I think whether or not that should be something that happens in the maybe post-season, just comes out and it's stated that.
Look at the cat. What's he doing?
He's just been for a shit, so he's now on turbo sprint around the flat like an idiot mode. He's a fucking tool. I love him, but he's a tool.
Yeah. So where was I before the turbo shit? The cat. No, it's Danny's fault, not mine.
Sorry.
Yeah, so just in terms of, I've completely lost my train of thought. Cheers, Danny. Putting pressure on the manager. I think, yes, it's either Edu and it's Vinay coming out, I think, at the end of the season, and it's for them to really set the stall out for next season and just go. And that gives us an idea. If they say that this season is acceptable in the current position we're in, not making a final, finishing mid-table, then I think that gives us an idea of the pressure that's on Mikel. If they come out and say it's completely unacceptable, but we're backing the man, then great. At least we're seeing there's some pressure on him. But right now we don't see.
But if they do that, then they, Vinay and Edu, if they do that, then they also have to fall on their sword if it goes tits up. Because Arteta is very much Edu and Vinay's man. They went balls out. They've put everything in place. They've essentially Guardiola'd the club for him. They've built the whole club in Mikel's image. They've given him the players he wants so far, and from what I can gather, they're going to do the same in the summer. That they've built this club in his image. So if he doesn't perform and he doesn't get the results, then and that's kind of the issue you've got here, isn't it? Is Edu's arse on the line as well, and Edu's not going to fire himself, is he? So this is where you need a strong board. That's probably a topic for another day.
Right, Richard, did you have anything to say on that before we just do a couple of quick? Who's going to do the questions? Josh, do you want to do them? Listeners' questions?
Sure, I can do the questions.
Richard, anything you want to cover? Because we've been doing an hour and 40. Okay. Last few things that our WhatsApp group got together because I'm too lazy. If Arteta goes, do we start from scratch again, and who would be a realistic target? If I dare answer this question, I think we can't afford to start from scratch again. And then so the next manager who comes in will be told, we don't have £300 million and a whole new staff and everything new for you. You've got to work with what you've got. And that makes the second part of that question, who would be a realistic target, really, really hard to answer. Kris, you look like you're about to spring into action.
Well, Josh knows what's coming here, but there's a manager in France that I'm quite fond of by the name of
Mauricio Pochettino.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, Christophe Galtier has done an unbelievable job at Lille.
Are they going to win the French league? Because they're top, aren't they?
It goes back and forth. I mean, they're top at the moment. They're 4 points clear. But just competing the way they have this season, and they've done wondrous things, and they've rebuilt that squad. They had Pepe sold from underneath them. He reinvested. Yeah, well, he reinvested the money. Brought in Jonathan David, who scored goals. He brought in Botman, who's now attracting interest of some of the biggest clubs in Europe. At centre back, he's got a history of making clubs better, and he's a manager who inspires those around him. He's a manager that you'll see often in dressing room pictures, giving it the big come on to the fans and to the players. He's motivational, tactically very astute, and he's a brilliant manager, but he's never really been given the chance at the very top level. So I'm not saying he would leave Lille. And again, as I said, I'm very much with Rich. I'm backing Arteta at this point. But if it got to the stage where we needed to look at replacements, Gautier would be high on my list, particularly as it looks like Nagelsmann's going to go to Bayern. So that's him off the radar if he was even on it in the first place.
Well, Josh or Richard next. I'm looking for earbuds, metal ones. So you carry on.
Well, I think I'd probably go. The problem is, if Arteta's going, it's look at the position that Arsenal are in. I think at that time, and then who we're able to attract. I know we're Arsenal, huge club, but I think there's also a case of we're at the moment, especially when you look at the kind of transfer dealings we're making. I think the kind of managers we'd be getting in are of a similar type. We're either going balls out for a big manager for huge wages. Some might call it the Levy model, or you're going for like a promising manager who, a bit like Mikel right now, might be doing some learning on the job, but a bit more established, getting someone in before they're, like a Nagelsmann at Hoffenheim. That was your time to get Nagelsmann, not anymore. But I think, for me, you go somewhere really left field. I'm going to go Jesse March, RB Salzburg. I think that's a manager who's doing something really interesting. Again, got that kind of record of dealing with the kind of players we're going to be looking to bring in as well. Those players that are there with the step before they get elite. So, Erling Haaland, I'm not Szoboszlai. I'm going to just completely ruin how you say his name.
Szoboszlai, yeah.
Szoboszlai, he's completely dealt with those kind of players coming through. I think that's the kind of guy that you'd look at, or that we'd look at, and would be well within our budget as well to get in, would sit under a process for us, especially in the RB group. He understands that there's a process going on above him. Edu doesn't need to change away from his plans that are in place in that regard. And yeah, that's probably the manager I would go after. But Rich, what are you?
Very highly thought of in MLS, by the way. Very highly thought of when he was over there, yeah.
I have nothing to add to this question, unfortunately. You guys literally sort of have covered it fairly enough. So I would say move on to the next question.
Or you could you could just say, I would have gone for Pep Guardiola. At least he brought about the style of play.
Give it to Giggsy to lend a season.
Or don't give it Giggsy. Or just beat.
Yeah, no.
Allegedly.
No one needs that. No one's needs that.
No.
So I think I kind of agree that we've tried the manager who's won stuff before, didn't really work out. We've gone for the younger manager with great promise, and some would say that hasn't worked out. I think the only other thing we can do is go for the Ancelotti model of please help us and give Rafa Benitez a call. That's the kind of thing, and fuck the style of football, and fuck bringing players through the academy. Just go all out and chuck money at it, and then go bankrupt. So that's what you want, right? So looking at 2021-22, will Arteta still be the manager? What are our goals for the new season? Start with you, Rich, because you didn't have much to say before.
So what was the first part of that question? Would I stick with Arteta?
Will he be? Not whether you would.
Oh yeah. I think he definitely will be. I definitely will be. I think significant improvement is the goal for next season. There was a bit of me that I did think to myself, like, would it be the worst thing in the world if we didn't get into Europe next season, and so that we've just got the team. They're just playing every Saturday, and they've got the entire week to kind of prepare and be fresh, and not having to juggle all these different games. A little bit like what Chelsea had that one year. I think it helped out Liverpool one year when they almost won the title until Gerrard slipped. Massively helped Leicester and has helped West Ham. But I think significant improvement in from what we had. I would a real sustained challenge to break into the top four. And I know that might sound like a bit of a lowball answer, because we're Arsenal and we should be in that top four regardless, kind of thing. But it's
not anymore.
We're coming. No, exactly. Yeah, we're coming from such a low point. We're coming from such a place of weakness that I think if we did, push in and maybe even just about squeeze into the top floor, be there or thereabouts, not sitting adrift in, 9th, 8th, 7th kind of thing. And the other thing is playing better football. I know. I said Kris has been very vocal about it, and I think of Femi as well. We've been so shit at times to watch. And sorry, I get swearing. We've been so poor to watch at times. I think that's another thing that needs to that needs to improve. Like I said, if we're still languishing and doing the same sort of stuff we are at the present moment in time, then he's out the door.
Yeah, fair enough. Either of you two?
I couldn't really add anything to that. I don't want to take up all the airtime. I think that Rich has nailed it, to be fair. Unless
I think
anything.
Yeah, the only thing I kind of add to it, one, I think Arteta is the same. I think he will be here next season. The goal for next season, I think, depends on where we finish this season, and a bit carry on from what Rich says is, I think Arteta has a harder job because the expectation's higher if we don't finish in European place. If we don't have Europe next season, the expectation is we're top four, I think, because we've only got the league to kind of hang on to at that point. If we finish in Europe, I think it's a little bit more of a, obviously Champions League is still the goal, but he's got that kind of get out of jail excuse of a cup competition to get him through at least the first half of the year. Because if you're only playing for the league and we're 15th come, December the 23rd, then there's going to be serious questions asked. If we blitz through the Europa League group at the same time, then there might, there's still going to be we can still get Champions League through the Europa League, a bit like how this season's gone. But I think if you don't have that kind of crutch of European football that gets you into the Champions League, then I think he's got a very, very difficult task, because his expectation is to almost basically a domestic treble should be realistic for us, almost. For
Yikes.
Well,
No pressure.
maybe not the league, but
Yeah,
we should be fighting on all fronts there. Like, without European football and the squad we've got at the moment, you almost got to say 45 games in a season. We should be winning at least 80% of those.
Just to add to that very briefly, just because I've just suddenly thought of this. If we don't get into Europe this season, excuse me, and I don't count the Vauxhall Conference or whatever the fuck it's called. If we don't get into Europe, or even if we do, but let's say we don't, then top 4 is an absolute minimum next season, because there can be no excuses. And don't give me this, the fans aren't in bullshit, because I'm sick to death of people saying, well, you can't count the season because COVID, blah, 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 blah. I agree. You can't count these seasons as memorable. I agree. You can't count these seasons as any fun or enjoyment, because they haven't been. They've been trash. But Man City will still have the league title with their name on it. Liverpool still have the league title with their name on it, sadly. But, there's still trophies to play for. There's still active seasons. It's still the same football on the same pitches. And every club has had the same. It's not just Arsenal. And arguably, if there was ever a club that shouldn't rely on their home atmosphere, it's probably us, in fairness. But all jokes aside, there cannot be any excuse, because you've got rest, you've got recuperation, you've got rotation in the squad. I don't give a monkeys if we throw both cups. Top 4 is a minimum requirement. And as Rich said, and as Josh said, if we keep faith with Arteta, in fact, I would argue, even if we're in the Europa League again next season, which we may end up being, if we're not within that top 4 bracket by November, then I think we have to be asking really serious questions. We've got to get off to a really good start next season, and not just by beating Fulham away and then shitting the bed for the next 6 weeks afterwards.
Sadly true. Josh, do you want to do questions? Sure.
Let's go for them. Where should we start? We'll go with Phil Macker's question. So where should I hit this? I think we'll hit it to Kris. Our transfer dealings, and this is from Phil Macker's words, not mine, have been embarrassing for a very long time. Apart from Tierney and Martinelli, who has been our best signings in the past 5 seasons?
Gabriel's won straight away. I think Pablo Mari's been very good. Sorry to race in ahead, but I forget them otherwise.
Tierney?
Yeah, it was Tierney in that list.
It was apart from Tierney and Martinelli, but I would completely agree on Pablo Mari being by far and away one of the shrewdest deals we've done in a very long time.
He's like the new Mertesacker, isn't he? Very calm, composed, just gets on with it. Yeah, I like him. I think you could probably argue David Luiz for his influence. He scares the crap out of me every time he plays, but he is a winner. I guess how I would answer this is, I think Phil's got a very good point. Our transfer dealings have not been the best. That I would definitely agree with. And not just in terms of the marquee signings. How many young players have we signed who have mysteriously just disappeared off the face of the planet? Some of them, as Danny will tell you from his research with this, he's very good at this. A lot of our youngsters do just disappear because they think they're better than they are, granted. But there's also been quite a few projects, to use that word again, that we've signed that have just gone nowhere. The Rio Miachis, the Park Chu-youngs, and I know this is under our
generations of players he's tried to get to work, and absolutely 2 or 3 that have actually some like Bentner ruined it themselves, like you.
I mean, there's always exceptions. I mean, look at the amount of goalkeepers we tried under Arsene that didn't work out. How many, Silvestre, who was the other centre back that we signed? Squillaci. They weren't bad players, but yet they rocked up at Arsenal and suddenly became awful. Debussy was a good signing, but unfortunately he was battered out of the club by that spoke pillock. But I think Phil's point overall is a fair one. The transfer business needs to be a lot better, and not just in terms of the player profiles we're going for, the deals we're getting. We should be a lot better. We should be a lot more shrewd with these deals.
Not only that, I would add on the fact that our selling has been
horrific.
appalling.
Yeah,
When you giving
think
away.
When you think that the sums that Liverpool got for Jordan Ibe and Rhian Brewster, Jesus wept.
And we're about to do the same with Torreira. We're going to let him go out on loan for $1.5 million, and we're still paying his wages because he's homesick. I don't care. It's a business. It's not a fucking charity.
Nketiah will, mark my words, you can mark this down, 13th of April 2021, Eddie Nketiah will go for less than 15 million quid. Bet you any money. He'll go for about 10 mil.
He'll go to another bottom half of the Premier League side, and he'll be like a Paul Dickov, someone who you can rely on, get you 10 goals a season, probably 2 of them against us.
Drift into oblivion, and that's a player that if we'd have been shrewd and we'd have sort of thought about this maybe even a year ago when he was at his peak, we would probably have got 20 mil, 22, 23 for English premium.
Imagine if Liverpool had a player who was the top goal scorer ever for England under 23s, 30 million, like you were saying, Richard, 35 million. This bloke's got so much promise. You bring him on in dead rubbers, so you'd stat pad him, like Kane does when he's playing for England. Let him take all the penalties.
and this doesn't just stem from the Arteta Emery Edu managership. This goes all the way back to us, and I love him, bless him, but he also wasn't the best at because he had this 1 year rule, didn't he? We're only going to give you 1 year, and then the amount of players, Gilberto Silva, Robert Pires, even Dennis, we could have held them for one more season, and we didn't because we didn't sell properly and we didn't offer the right contracts to keep those players in place. So this goes back a long way, which is why I don't have too much faith that it's going to change anytime soon.
Well, I think that's one of the problems that we can kind of see is we're not going to be able to say that it's, Phil's question will still be probably relevant at the end of, well, I'd say at the end of next season. It's still going to be a relevant thing, but we could have had 2 great transfer windows off the back of it, and it would still, over a 5-year period, still look pretty bad because we've still got some players that have come in and have not been great for us.
You were breathing, Josh. I forget that you breathe between words.
Okay.
Yeah, what
just
were you
go blue
say?
and pass out, then I know you're done. Don One has put on here on YouTube. Should have sold Alexis Sanchez for 60 million to Man City. Instead, we swapped him for Mkhitaryan, then gave Mkhitaryan away. I think we got $1 million for that, or some tiny amount of compensation when he went to Roma.
Yeah. I mean, hindsight is 20/20, isn't it? When it comes to getting rid of these
40-0.
players.
We just sold so many players, and think how much we sold. Like Overmars and Petit went to Barcelona for a combined, what was it, like 26 million quid? Henri went to Barcelona for about £6 in a packet of peanuts. It's ridiculous, just mental how we get bent over and shafted forcibly from behind by these agents and other clubs.
We did shaft Liverpool for £40 million for a guy that wanted to play central midfield.
And
35 million to Everton. We just need to start selling to Scousers because they clearly don't rate our players.
I'm not touching that one, Josh. You can die on that hill.
Would you ever want the Ox back? Because Liverpool don't want him.
Good God, no. And while we're at it, at the risk of upsetting a certain other former member of our podcast, no, I do not want Aaron Ramsey back. Just going to put that right out there right now. No. Jesus. And there's nothing against him. Lovely bloke, cracking player. But just no.
They want to get rid of him. What's he on, 500
Of course they fucking do. Because he barely plays.
He's on £1 gazillion a week and he's fit for 25 games a season.
Exactly.
Yeah. We'd be moaning about it, but now just sit back and relax and say, you know what? We dodged a bullet there for once. We didn't sign a player who's only fit for 25 games a season for 300 grand a week. Exactly.
Half of them were a sub.
Yeah. Question from, we'll go from Avon Teddington to Rich. Do you have a view on giving Chambers a go back at right centre back as he was first choice there before he did his knee?
Yeah, I know what you said because he was really, really good before his knee exploded. Bless him. It could be. I think if we're integrating Saliba back into the squad, and we're going to have Holding, and we're going to have Pablo Mari, and we've got Gabriel, and possibly we're extending David Luiz
And Mavropanos.
and Mavropanos. I'm struggling to see where he's
At the back.
kind of going to get in. Whereas I think, he's kind of found himself a little bit at right back. I like the fact that he's a different type of right back to Bellerin and to Cedric. So I mean, if we were to get rid of either Cedric or Bellerin, I think, as we touched on earlier, I think it's more likely it's going to be Bellerin. That he's a different kind of right back. He gives you height. He gives you a bit more defensive solidity. Whereas, like I say, Bellerin comes in field a lot more and almost kind of makes up the numbers in midfield a little bit. So no, I think he's a good option to play there at right back at centre back, right centre back if needed. But I think we're going to be stacked in that position next season. So I would kind of keep him kind of where he is, if that for want of a better excuse. I know it sounds a bit lame kind of thing, but and I do get what you mean in the sense of that he was really, really good at right centre back. But like I said, we've already got players in that position. So unless you're shipping out Saliba or you're shipping out Holding, or whatever's going to happen with Luiz, I kind of don't see it.
Yeah, I think that's probably where I'm at as well. That there's so many right-sided centre-backs that we've got in the squad already, and as Danny's mentioned, 2 more are coming back.
Who have had magnificent loans.
Oh, Mavropanos I will happily sell because he has fattened up lovely at Stuttgart.
Ready for Christmas.
Ready for Christmas. We can sell him from him. That's the point of these loan deals, isn't it? It's either you fatten them up to sell, or you bring them back. And I think Saliba's one we bring straight back in. Mavropanos, great.
If we don't, Josh,
he's done amazing. Back in the sales for Maitland-Niles.
If we don't bring Saliba back, I mean, I might just be a Nice fan for life. I'm so done. If we let that kid slip through our fingers, I'm done, because that is, like, you can talk about Mesut till you're blue in the face. That is the single worst piece of player management we have dealt with in 25 years. Absolutely horrific management.
I completely agree, and I think if he doesn't integrate Saliba into the team next season, that's clearly a personal thing, in the sense of it's got zero to do with footballing reasons kind of thing. Saliba has whatever was going on with him at the start of the season, with integrating into the country, and whatever happened with his poor mum, God bless him, that that's awful kind of thing. He has dispelled any rumours that this was affecting his footballing ability, because he, like I said, he's been outstanding for Nice. If he's not integrated into that's another caveat. And I've said it at the top of the show that I said that Arteta got wrong this season was the Saliba thing. And if he doesn't make use of that lad next season, that is going to be a massive black mark on his name. Just to let you lads know, my battery is about to die, so I may have to, if my screen goes blank, that's what's happened. So just to forewarn you.
Better hurry up then. So question from Sai. I think for you, Kris, do you guys think that Arsenal are putting too much pressure on Saka, comparing him with Rocky, making him the poster boy for the club at 19? Sai's afraid that we're going to break him. Do you feel similarly to Saka as well?
Is that from Mr. Collins?
No, Sai Anvesh.
Okay, no worries, Si. I'll keep this one short and sweet. Yeah, 100%. I think he's bang on. We've got a real talent in this kid, but let's not let's not, as I said earlier, don't give him the captaincy. Don't make him the poster boy. You know, him wearing the Rocky shirt, I thought was a nice tribute. Actually, I thought that was quite nice. But yeah, don't compare him. I mean, they're light years a different player, different position, the whole thing. He's a really talented player, but in recent weeks we've seen he is still human. You know, he's had some off games as well. Should have scored last Thursday. Let's not forget that. So he's still developing. Let's not put any more pressure on him than he's already got, and just let him develop. Same with Smith Rowe. And I actually hope he doesn't play for England at all in the summer. I know that's not going to please some people, but you know, I'd like to see him. I'd like to see somebody else get used and abused by Southgate personally.
Oh, I'd happily agree. As someone who does follow England quite closely, there is plenty of left backs that deserve to go there. Just send Chilwell and Luke Shaw and keep Saka back for pre-season with Arsenal, please. Thank you very much. Quickly, Stan the Man, I'll answer this question. So why does Aubameyang look so happy when he's on international duty, but look so miserable when he turns out for a club that pays his exuberant wages? Is life at Arsenal that bad? I say, yeah. Gabon were doing very well during the international break. They qualified for the Cup of Nations. And then a question for you, Rich, if you're still there, give us a little jiggle, see if you're still there.
I'm still there.
Cool. From Jimmy H32, where do you rate yourself from a little giggle to pissing yourself on the Kane news about him wanting to leave the scum?
Who saw that coming?
Couldn't have happened to a nicer club. I'm on the end of that scale, the pissing myself laughter side of it, because once that guy goes, they are screwed. So yeah, I'm on the pissing myself laughing side.
Kris, is the extra like turd on top of the piss the fact that they might have to sell Kane to fund sacking Jose Mourinho?
Oh, that would be priceless, wouldn't it? And the best bit as well is Heung-min Cheat will probably leave as well, because without Harry Kane, he's half the player. He's the average player he was at Leverkusen once again. So Eric Dyer up front for Spurs. It'll be like the golden days. Perhaps they could get Jermaine Jenas back. He seems to be quite affiliated with Spurs. Him and Redknapp in midfield together. But no, it's hilarious. I presume it's not official that he said he wants to leave. It's all talk, but. Yeah, I think he's finally woken up to the fact that as long as he stays there, he's going to win literally nothing. So,
with Harry Kane, if he did do any talking, no one fucking understood anyway.
Exactly. And that's why he doesn't want to move to a big club like PSG, because he struggles enough with English, let alone learning French.
Exactly. Danny, I think that is the end of the questions. Weirdly, there's not one about Basuma.
Josh, got a late question in. Should we sign Basuma?
Quick answer. If you would like a midfield that is Granit Xhaka come January, February time, because all the rest of our midfielders would then be African and are all going to the Cup of Nations. Have fun,
Make
guys.
Arsenal African again.
Until you realise that Thomas Partey, his best partner in Basuma, and El Neni all go away for an international break in the middle of the season. Yeah, have fun. Just leaving Granit Xhaka behind and maybe another on loan, Ceballos. No, unfortunately.
Or Gwen Jonesy, if he's still knocking about.
No, it's Guendouzi. No, he's going to be playing, what is it, Bundesliga 2 for Hertha Berlin?
Well, he ain't, because he's going to get a move to a bigger club, and he's going to be utilised, and he's going to be another one we look back on in 10 years and go, oh yeah, there's another one we sold for £6, and he's now for 30 million. That was good. That was good business.
The one that will fall out with another 3 managers on his way to the top. That one.
Yeah, he'll succeed doing it. He'll succeed doing it. Some of the best players in the world of football have big egos. Josh, ask Pierre-Emerick.
Danny, let's just let's move on from the Poundland Rabiot and so let's wrap up the show.
Oh, dear. My cats, it's Dora and Lily. The one on top is Dora cleaning her mum, Lily. I'm trying not to get any bum shots, but there they go. Dora is the only licking cat out of 23 cats I've had. A licky cat. She licks things. There you go. I'm not a cat farmer. I've just had bad luck with cats. Right. Thursday's podcast after the show is, as long as I found out what was wrong with my PC, the graphics card was getting too hot. So Thursday's show, I think Mr. Stokes said he might be free for that game. So that would be good. See us get knocked out by Slavia thingy bob, Sparta thingy bob, Sparta Prague. It's the one Rosicky didn't play for, who they smashed Rosicky's team at the weekend 2-0. So it might be me and James. Quite frankly, we have no idea what's going on. Sunday's show is who are we playing on Sunday? Fulham. Anybody know this kickoff time?
Probably like 11 at night or something stupid for TV, isn't it? I don't know.
No, it's 1:30. I might drag myself out of bed to watch that. So at least
That's very good of you.
Well, it's nearly summer, isn't it? Right. Thank you very much, Josh, for turning up. Are you waving? Are you having a big goodbye ceremony for when you're leaving the north before you start saying "t" rather than "the"?
Maybe, but it won't be till later in the week.
Oh, lovely, Joe. It'd be good to have you back in the part of the world where we speak proper, innit?
You know, mate, bruv.
Innit? Great. Thank you, Richard, for staying with us with how's your migraine? Are you feeling a bit better?
Yeah, a little bit better. I chugged a load of Solpadeine, so I feel a little bit better. But thanks for having me on, lads.
It's always good, always a pleasure to have you on. And finally, it's Mr. Carpenter there with his weepy body. You look like a lot more relaxed now. You look like you're not carrying the troubles of the world on your shoulders.
I feel better. I'm not 100% sure I'm ready to eat yet, and I'm concerned about what the night has to come. But I just posted on my Instagram, and a lot of my running community have come back and said, "Yep, been there." Panicked exactly the same as I did halfway through marathons. And was it Paula Radcliffe that did it?
Yeah, she had a shit.
Yeah.
While running.
We've all been there. I'm sure I'm not the first. I won't be the last. But I'm glad I stuck around because I've enjoyed it. But it was touch and go for a minute there, literally.
Oh dear, there's the obligatory Pornhub from Phil. Cheers, Phil. Right, yeah. If you've enjoyed the podcast, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't, given it a thumbs down, because these three have been my favourite guests of They're so much better than last week's guests. They were absolutely awful. Thank you very much to everybody in the chat. And look, I'm going to put a little thing here. It's the Gooners podcast, which is Mike and Ian, INO and AN is on there. There's a link to their show. Hopefully, I've never gone and had a look and see if it. Oh, there it does. You can click on that link. You can go and have a look. At the moment, they've only got 16 people watching, and they've only got 8 thumbs up. So if you could go and support our fellow podcasters because they are our friends, go there, give them a thumbs up, tell them we sent them, and stay and watch the show because it'll be good fun. We will be back on Thursday. Thank you very much, everybody, and goodbye. All right.
#fuck Ellis.